Good morning. Today is Monday, November 18th, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Star Wars Fallen Order. So, here's the thing. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan by any stretch of the imagination. I like Star Wars, and I think when it's good, it can be really, really good. But if we're being honest, a lot of the more recent games have not been the best. However, I was a big fan of The Force Unleashed, not so much The Force Unleashed 2, but I was definitely looking forward to this. I was skeptical at first because it was another EA Star Wars release, but then I found out that Respawn Entertainment was working on it, and I got a little bit more excited about the prospect of playing Fallen Order. So I streamed the opening hours of it, and I played it a little bit more over the weekend. It almost was enough to pull me away completely from Death Stranding, but not quite. And I want to talk a little bit about just like my early impressions of the game, probably over the first, like, I don't know, 5 to 6 hours of play. Not a massive amount, but just to figure out whether or not I regretted that purchase or whether I was pretty confident in it and whether I'm looking forward to continuing to play it. Dad, good morning. Thank you for stopping by the stream. So, right off the bat, well, first off, let's talk a little bit of background on the more recent Star Wars entries. EA's had sort of a stranglehold on the ability to publish Star Wars title for, I want to say the better part of a decade, because I think they had a 10-year contract where they were able to basically exclusively publish Star Wars games. And what ended up happening was, we got Battlefront, and they weren't necessarily overly satisfying, because they were the kind of game where anybody could pick it up and have a good time, which sounds good on paper, but then it offers very little to a player who's a little bit more discerning and wants a more skill-based sort of shooting affair. And, they were also kind of microtransaction-laden monstrosities, right? And I think that actually prompted, lawsuits and this whole big discussion around loot boxes and their viability, whether they should be in there, whether they shouldn't be in there. Mikkel, what's up, man? How you doing today? So, with that in mind, going into a game like Fallen Order, I don't think I would fault anybody for being a little bit skeptical, right? I certainly was. But when I found out that Respawn Entertainment was doing, these are the same cats that did Titanfall and the sadly, just not marketed very well Titanfall 2, which was an incredible game, were behind it, I got a little bit more interested in it, and leading up to it, my excitement began to build just a little bit more as I got to see more trailers about the game and some more early impressions that seemed to be really, really favorable. And I'm happy to report that based on my time with it, I've really enjoyed it so far. Now, I got it for the Xbox One X, and I've always been sort of split in terms of which system I'm going to get a game for, whether that's going to be the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox this generation. It used to be a really cut and dry thing, but over time, the PlayStation 4 Pro was sort of top tier for the best looking console graphics, and then the Xbox One X showed up and just ousted it, so I went from buying single player adventure experiences mainly on the PlayStation 4 to switching over to the Xbox One X whenever I got one of those. And the game really does look incredible, right? The animation, just the lighting, there are some scenes where it's really, really dark and you have to use your lightsaber to sort of light up the cave around you to sort of explore. And just lighting, particle effects, character models, the voice acting, everything aesthetically from a presentation standpoint really looks to be on point. I feel like I should mention especially the music for this game from composer Stephen Barton, who also did the music for the Titanfall series. He did really a fantastic job. There's just, the music tends to swell at just the right moments, and it adds, definitely the sort of Star Wars ambiance that you would expect to it. And it's even just beyond graphical prowess, right? Aside from the fact that, everything in the game tends to look really, really good. They also just sort of nailed the feel of Star Wars visually too, and one of the ways they did that was by using those classic wipe transitions that were so prevalent in the original trilogy. Because I was doing good, just re-uploaded our interview on YouTube and all major podcast outlets. Nice, man. Jedi Fallen Order is amazing, can't put it down. Yeah, and that's the thing, I probably would not put it down were it not for the fact that Death Strand still has such a brutal hold on me. But one of the things that, aside from just the presentation, is it does a lot of stuff, and it's been described as a lot of different AAA titles to sort of describe the amalgamation of different gameplay types that are on offer with Fallen Order. You've heard Dark Souls, which to me it felt more like Sekiro than Dark Souls, although there's certainly a Soulsian element to it, which I'll get to in a minute. There are shades of Uncharted or Tomb Raider in this game, and it's also all laid out in sort of a diet open world kind of way, right? It's not completely open world in the vein of a Grand Theft Auto or something like that, but it's also not hyper linear either. It's somewhere in the middle, because you have some autonomy in terms of choosing what location you're going to go to next, and then within each location you visit, there are lots of branching paths and things to discover. And I think that's one of my favorite things about the game so far, is there's this constant reward of discoverability there, right? You're always finding new lightsaber parts, or you're finding new clothing for Cam to wear in the game, and that seems to be a really satisfying aspect of it. And it's weird because you don't necessarily get a super close-up view of your lightsaber aside from the color, but it is kind of cool to like sit at a workbench and then decide like everything from like the hilt to the color to all the other individual parts of your saber to give it a more personal feel. Judge, good morning. How you doing today, man? So in that regard, I like that the game, as of yet, I have not seen any microtransactions. Now, there were some pre-order bonuses you could get, and then if you got the deluxe edition, or if you went to GameStop and they were out of deluxe edition, like what happened to me, you could pay $10 to get extra DLC for that, which gives you some more color options for like your ship, for BD1, which is the, you know, your little droid buddy that runs around with you, and then also some behind-the-scenes stuff, which I haven't watched yet. Yeah, if I'm being honest, I haven't dived into it, but I was excited about it because I like behind-the-scenes footage for my games. Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. So, you know, that sense of progression for your character, you know, like, and it's not just aesthetics, you know, like, you are constantly, like, unlocking new skill points and everything. So, you know, all that seems like pretty standard action RPG-ish fare, like, there's a light dusting of an RPG element to it, not like a pure action RPG, I guess. But, you know, beyond that, the other thing that, you know, when you talk about, like, okay, well, how is it sort of Souls and Sekiro-like? It's Souls-like in, it's sort of like the bonfire system, right? So you have, like, these Jedi meditation circles that you stumble upon in the environment, and this sort of work as, like, your checkpoints or save points. But that's also where you can, like, add new skill points to improve Cam's abilities. It's where you save the game, but also it's where you can heal yourself, but at the expense of respawning every enemy in the environment. So, you know, you kind of have a decision to make there. Like, you can choose to tough it out with the amount of health you still have left, or if you're hurting, you can bring yourself back to full health, but it's also going to respawn every enemy in the environment, not too unlike a Souls game. Now, when it comes to respawning all of those enemies, one of the things that I like about it is that, you know, there are enemies that put up a real fight. Like, there's a meaty challenge here for some of the enemies, right? And, you know, that's done by, you've got, like, a standard block. You can also parry as long as you can get the timing right. And that's one of the things, like, whenever you're choosing your difficulty, I think there's 4 or 5 different difficulty levels, but one of the things I like about this game is that when you choose that difficulty level, it shows you exactly what's being modified. Like, maybe on a higher difficulty level, the amount of incoming damage from an enemy, there's, like, little bars that show you what's going to get increased or decreased. So you might see an increase or decrease in the window that you have for a parry. You might see an increase or a decrease in the amount of like enemy aggression or the amount of incoming damage that you're going to suffer from an enemy attack. And I thought that was really nice, the way that it's not just sort of arbitrary, like, because, you know, you play games, you're not really sure what bumping up the difficulty means. Does that mean they're just going to throw more enemies at you? Does that mean that you're going to have reduced health? Does that mean you're going to have less buffs that you can find throughout the environment? And I like the way that they sort of made that very clear to you. And bonus, you can adjust it at any time during play. So if you decide, like, I'm going to go, like, you know, I think it's, what was it, Jedi Knight mode, I think, is one of the higher difficulties, and you're like, you know what, this is too rough, I want, you know, something a little bit less intimidating. You can back it down without fear of, like, you know, screwing up your progress or anything like that. Judge says, I expect cosmetic stuff later, but not much more for transactions. Yeah, I don't really either. Judge says, grinding, it's like Souls that you can grind. Right, also a fair statement. Now, when it comes to Sekiro, you do have, like, a stamina bar, which I think that may have been prevalent in Souls, but I spent way more time playing Sekiro than I did Souls, so, you know, I'm less well-versed in that universe. But there is a stamina bar, and once it depletes, you become, you know, basically ineffective at, like, you know, like, parrying attacks, and you have to, like, recover your stamina before you can take big actions. And that's really important, because anybody who watched me do that opening stream knows that in that opening level, I basically found, like, well, almost the opening level, there's like a giant frog that you can fight, which is optional, but I wasn't going to let a frog beat me, right? That would be completely ludicrous. So I decided to go ahead and try to fight it, and I just basically kept swinging away. I was treating it like a game where you could button mash, and you can try to button mash, but you're going to have a bad time. It's just not a game that's well lent to that. This is a game that's, you know, more centered on, like, timing and precise movements, and, you know, picking your battles, and then once you get into it with a particular enemy, getting an understanding of their patterns. And I just kept wailing on this thing until I was exhausting myself, and then predictably I was getting wrecked because I wasn't able to, like, dodge out of the way quickly enough. But once I listened to Fabian's advice, Gamerthon TV was in the stream and told me, hey, you know, maybe just wail on him once or twice, then just get out of the way and let your stamina recover. Then I didn't really have any issues with it, but I approached it completely with the wrong mentality, which is weird, because even going into it, I knew the combat in this game was more nuanced from what I'd watched, but, you know, something about my desire to just kill a frog, I guess, kept me playing way more aggressively than I probably should have. So, speak of the devil, what's up, man? Hey guys, yeah, I was talking about the frog encounter that I had in the early part of Fallen Order, and how you encouraged me to be, you know, maybe a little bit more intelligent about how I was approaching that particular battle, which is to say that I was just kind of rushing in like a deranged, you know, sugar-laden 5-year-old. You're like, the frog monster. Yeah, it wasn't a great experience for me. So, And that's the thing, like, the combat does feel good, and I think that's really a testament to Remedy's work in a way, because, lightsabers are weird, I think, because on the one hand, you're talking about a laser sword that certainly has the ability to dismember and maim people without a whole lot of work, but they made the decision where you can't really just, like, cut off like human limbs or anything like that. Like smaller enemies, yeah, you can totally cut them in half and everything. So I'm sure that was a conscious design decision, because even though like Star Wars certainly has some darker moments in it, and probably more in the EU that was uncanonized, but I never really read any of the books, so I couldn't speak to it. I guess it was probably not realistic for them to have you like cutting stormtroopers in half, and nor has it ever been that I can recall. At least not in any game that I think that I've played. So, but that's a curious thing, right? So you've got this big, powerful, essentially laser sword. So you would expect that it'll be able to just cut through things like, like a hot knife through butter. And for smaller enemies, that's true, just not really for humanoid enemies or anything like that. And, what's weird is like, one of the hardest things I think to describe to somebody or to explain to somebody when it comes to like discussing a game and its merits or the things that you don't like about it is how a game feels. There's a certain feel to certain actions that you can take, like jumps, for example, can feel sort of weighty or they can feel sort of floaty, but that's a really hard concept to communicate unless someone's actually laid hands on a controller. And for me, I feel like the lightsaber could have felt either super overpowered if you literally were slicing through everything. If they'd made the design decision like, oh yeah, you can totally just slice through humanoids too, I feel like that would have gotten kind of old, because there has to be some sort of an impact, right? So where's that middle ground between like indomitable demigod laser sword and making sure it doesn't feel like something way less powerful like a toy? And I feel like they struck a good balance there, right? Even the hits against enemies that don't necessarily cut through them still feel pretty good. But I feel like that was probably a really hard thing for them to sort out whenever they were going through the design of this game. Shaken, hello. Your lust for blood was unquenchable. I know, right? I just really wanted to knock out Kermit in a significant way. Checkpoints, what's up? How you doing? The only not universal but popular complaint I've seen in reviews is people want more monster variety. As complaints go, not bad. Yeah, and that's, I'm not deep enough into the game to say like, oh man, like they reused a lot or there wasn't enough variety or anything like that. I think I heard a few people talk about that. Fabian says, to be fair, stormtroopers were getting killed by pebbles from Ewoks, so Star Wars was never that violent. Probably fair to say. What's up? Let's see, what's up, Fabian? Lily, hello, how are you doing this morning? So yeah, in that regard, like, the combat does feel nuanced, and it does feel good, and even though, you're not exactly just, like, slicing people in half at every turn, the lightsaber combat still feels good as far as I'm concerned. Now, one of the things I didn't like about it as much is the platforming. And like what I mean by that is like that's kind of where like some of those Uncharted or Tomb Raider comparisons come into play, because there is a lot of environmental traversal here, and then on top of that there are weird paths that you might not think to take unless you look up and find a ledge, or if you find like a small area that looks like you might not quite be able to squeeze through, but then you actually can squeeze through. So that kind of adds to the joy of discovery. But there are a lot of sections, especially ones where you're just like sliding down an incline and you sort of have to like shift cam left or right. And that didn't feel great to me. Like, it looks cool, right? And the idea that there's, like, this impending sense of danger, you're sliding uncontrollably, down through an environment can be fun, but sometimes the turns are really sharp, and Cam does not turn very sharply, so I thought that could be a little bit frustrating at times. The other thing that I would say is, like, the grab mechanic felt weird. Now, it makes sense. So what I mean when I say the grab mechanic is if you're hanging onto the side of a ledge, right, like you would in a lot of 3D platformers, if you drop, there has to be some action that you take to grab onto something again. And the way Fallen Order does is you do that with the left trigger, right? That kind of controls Cam's grab ability, and you have to hold it to grab onto something. So whether that's another ledge that you're dropping down to, or whether it's like you're dropping down like on some vine growth or brush or something, and something you can sort of climb across, sort of like Super Mario World style on the fences. You use left trigger for that. But the thing was, maybe it was just me, but I feel like it was a little bit off somehow. Like, sometimes it felt like it triggered correctly, no pun intended, and then sometimes it felt like it didn't. So maybe I'm just crazy and I was just really bad at detecting when the time was to grab that, but there were certain parts of the platform that didn't feel great to me. Like, it felt a little bit too floaty, a little too inconsistent. It's not bad enough that it would, like, sully my entire, enjoyment of the game. It hasn't. But it is one of those things that can occasionally be annoying, like when you feel like you pulled the left trigger at the right moment, but you still fall to your death anyways. That's a little bit debilitating. And then knowing that, you're chunking down your health through moves like that, and, if you have to, bring your health back up in one of those Jedi meditation circles that you're going to respawn everything, that can be a little bit discouraging. But those are, some fairly minor complaints. Um, yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest issue I've had with it so far. And again, it's a fairly minor complaint, right? I don't constantly miss them or anything like that, but when you do, sometimes it does feel a little bit cheap to me. Mikhail says, I cannot stand the slide. Right, and like, again, it looks really cool, right? It certainly adds, like, an element of drama and some dynamic action to the proceedings. I think that's neat. But, you know, he doesn't control very well. And maybe that's by design. I mean, if I was sliding down, you know, like the side of a ship or something, I don't know how well I would be able to reposition myself without falling over. Josh says, is it petty that I didn't like the actor choice? I just feel like he's everywhere now, so I rolled when I saw him starring here. You were two jokers, relax. You know, that's the thing, like I'm not, like, I haven't really watched Gotham, so I can't really speak to that dude's acting ability. In the game, he seems fine to me. You know, there's nothing about his character that's really, like, you know, like, I wouldn't say it's exceptional, but at the same time, I think he's doing a more than competent job. I've certainly seen games that have worse voice acting or worse performances from the actors. You know, so I don't since I haven't really seen him in much else, I can't really, you know, look at his other performances as a baseline, I suppose. Famous says, graphically the game is beautiful. It looks so good, and I agree about the platforming. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there is a fair amount of platforming in this game, but again, it's not so bad that I'm like, ugh, I just want to put this game down and not play anymore. Like, I haven't met a sequence yet where it's like I failed like 30 times in a row or something like that. But when you do hit it, it does feel sort of floaty, or like something could have been tightened up a little bit there. Maybe it's just me. Liz says, how are you, Josh? I'm doing quite well. Fairly caffeinated this morning. Happy to be talking about some Star Wars. And I'm excited to play more. Like, whenever I can finally, you know, pull myself away from Death Stranding, Star Wars is going to be the first game that I go to try to wrap up. And there's some contenders, you know, competitors for my time in the gaming arena right now. We've had no shortage of games over the past couple of months. Still need to finish Luigi's Mansion 3. Pokemon is out now, which I've probably put 8 to 10 hours into so far, and I'm enjoying myself. But I really will, because that's the thing, like, I love a good single-player adventure, and that's really a shift in my own gaming habits. When I was younger, for whatever reason, video game narratives really didn't resonate with me in a big way. Like, I was not very interested in the story for, like, some of the RPGs I played. Whenever I started kind of getting into those, I just wanted to get into the action. And now, as I've gotten older, I have a much larger appreciation for story in games. And I would say that shifted probably somewhere around like my early to mid 20s is where I really started to see, you know, where video game narratives could do something really, really special. And that's when I started being way more invested in games that would not only provide a fun experience mechanically speaking, right? Because if the game itself is fun, or not fun, I don't care how good your story is, I'm never going to, like, slog through that enough to actually see what you're trying to communicate, you know, through your art that is video games. But now, you know, provided that the gameplay itself is fun, like the loop is enjoyable, I'll absolutely rip into a single player game with a great story more than, you know, any other game that may be less so. Jake says, be a Pokemon master. I'm trying, okay? I need you to continue tutoring me. Josh, the old I pushed the button, the game is cheating excuse. Right, exactly. I'm angry I don't have a purple lightsaber yet. Yeah, I did get the orange lightsaber, and that was one of the pre-order bonuses, which you could have the orange one, which looks fine. But purple would be what I would be after as well. Shocker, I know. Judge hates gingers confirmed. I know, right? We used to be cool. Mark Twain was a ginger? I had no idea. Mikhail Casanova says, Jedi, the fallen ginger. Every time I fall off the sliding sections, I know, right? I didn't even notice he was a ginger until I got, wow, way deep into the game. Fallen ginger, be a Pokemon master. Without spoilers, he nailed his first Joker. Nailed it. Well, that's cool. I mean, you know, I haven't heard anything overtly bad about this actor before. Good morning, brother. I've been had skills. How are you doing this morning? Happy Monday to you. Checkpoint says, I have a busy 2 days, so I can't even play it till after. I personally enjoy the platforming stuff. Gives me Jack and Daxter vibes. And that's the thing, like, I'm not mad there's platforming in it. I think that's a cool thing. And I like that they've got these branching paths that you can explore that actually, and that's the thing, like, even some of the paths that I was just like, do I really need to go down this? I feel like I've been almost consistently rewarded with something great for, you know, in entertaining my curiosity and going down that less traveled path, right? You're almost always finding, like, you know, new aesthetic options or a skill point or whatever it is. And, oh, by the way, I should point out, BD1 is great. He's one of my favorite droids in Star Wars. He is completely adorable. He's like, I don't know, he's like a baby Johnny 5 from Short Circuit, and I like that a lot. Famous says, I beat Luigi Mansion 3 last night. Some of the boss fights are crazy. I don't know how it's a kid's game. Yeah, I heard that there were some difficulty spikes in that game. I think I made it through 7 or 8 floors, so I've got some ground to cover in Luigi's Mansion. Just with age comes wisdom, and enjoy the errand of story. Amend of story. I don't think I know that word. Hold on a second. I'll have to look that up. Make corrections and improvements to a text. That's an interesting word. I like that. Morning, Jake, and how are you, Jake? I've been loving all the lore in the game, especially the Clone War connection. You know, it's funny, like, I'd never watched the Clone Wars animated series, and me and Dad started watching the first episode the other day. He's watched, like, 2 seasons of it. I had not seen any, so I watched the first episode, where, you know, Yoda is hanging out with some of the clone troopers and making a case for why the Jedi are still viable. In lieu of the droid army, I guess. Do I have a red lightsaber, Josh? And in the game, I have an orange lightsaber. In real life, I have no lightsaber to speak of. Although, I've seen that, what is it, like 2 or 2... Fabian, you probably know. What is that? Is that a Disney World or someplace where there's like a Star Wars thing where you can build your own lightsaber and it's like this big ordeal, but it's like $250 to do it? Because that seems like fun. I would like to do that someday. Keep getting sidetracked by exploration. Yeah, and that's okay. I don't mind getting sidetracked by exploration. That's Death Stranding for me right now. Like, I'm, again, like a solid 60 hours into that game. And I'm only on chapter 5 or 6 of the story because I keep getting sidetracked doing other things, which to me is a hallmark of a great game, right? If it makes you completely almost like disregard the main story because you're just so interested in everything else the gameplay itself has to offer, I think that's definitely a sign of good design. Zachary, good morning. How you doing today, man? It's a big story in the books, too. More proof Han Solo is a dumb boyfriend? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I need to back up for context here. Jake is tired. Planet Dathomir is a huge one that had a big story arc in Clone Wars involving Darth Maul's brother. I didn't even know Darth Maul had. See, again, not a Star Wars fanatic. Like, I like it when I see it, and I can appreciate the movies when I see them. But, you know, I have not done a deep dive into anything beyond the films, really, and like a handful of the games. Let me switch at home. I'm already having Pokemon withdrawals. It's a hard life, isn't it, Jakin? Tickets says, finally slept, so not tired now. Good morning to you. I'm glad you're not tired anymore. I know that, you know, when you were on the stream last night, it was like 1:30 in the morning for you. Just as I want a black lightsaber, like it looks like a black hole harness. I think that's in the game. I think you can get a black lightsaber in Fallen Order, Judge. Clone Wars is a quality show. It has some great storylines as the show progresses. And that's the thing, I'd always heard good things about it from people who are way more, you know, well-versed in Star Wars than I am. So, you know, I'm pumped to continue. Because right now, me and Dad are watching The Mandalorian. You know, and I thought the second episode was a nice follow-up to the first. And, like, I guess on Rotten Tomatoes, too, like, it got rated even higher than the debut episode. But then I've heard some people just say, like, The Mandalorian's completely boring. I didn't really get that impression. Like, to me, it feels like a space western, and, you know, I'm getting what's promised, I guess, and I've enjoyed it. Lily says, no, Josh. No, Josh, what? SharePoint says, I got a beautiful pink lightsaber in my game. That's awesome. Zach says, finally caught one of your morning streams, Josh. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep doing these at 8, you know, basically 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, at least through the end of the year and potentially beyond. It's, you know, the experiment went really well, but now I'm sort of scared because I'm like, did I bite off more than I can chew? But we'll see how it goes, because now what we're doing is we're kind of going back and forth between, like, helpful YouTube content and then just regular video game content, because this kind of discussion is really fun, too, and I have to say this is one of the first times that we've just purely dived into a game, not like a pickups video or not like going through like 15 different games, and it's pretty enjoyable, because it's nice to get your perspectives on new releases, too, because I know, you know, a lot of us tend to play the same games when they come out, so it's interesting to see, you know, things I might have missed, tips, for example, that you may have that I may not. That's good stuff. I asked because if you have a red saber, dark side, well then I won't get a red saber. I see what you tried to trap me, and I don't appreciate it, Lily. Thanks to Disney Plus, I finally get to watch Clone Wars. Yeah, in Disney Plus, I wasn't, you know, I came for the Marvel and maybe the Mandalorian, but I found other cool things I like there too. Like, you know, like Gargoyles is on there, the X-Men and Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, which me and my dad watched constantly. So pretty pumped about having access to that. I'll throw them up, you know, in the background while I work, which is nice. You can build expensive lightsabers at Disney, but I've heard they've been defective like crazy. Oh, that is ridiculous, because that's a super expensive undertaking, right? Like, I thought it was like $200 at a minimum. Like, if I'm paying $200, like, I get that you're providing a cool experience, but I would expect that that thing would last a lifetime. I mean, I feel like that should not be a hard thing to create something that's reliable for the amount that they're asking. Just as I prefer books to Disney Star Wars universe personally. My dad's read a lot of the books. I have not. You know I'm a lore whore. I do know that. Zach says I'm pretty much just relaxing till later. Never a bad plan. We'll always prefer the expanded universe over Disney's. Now that is officially not canon now, right? Tech says 1:39 a.m. if I remember right, almost 12 hours ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. I wanted all the episodes. I wanted to binge, man. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm assuming they're doling those out intentionally at a slow pace to keep interest high in Disney Plus, which makes sense. It's a fledgling streaming service, right? It just came out, so they probably need to make hedge their bets a little bit, make sure people are going to want to keep coming back, and if they're smart, rewarding people for continuing to come back to that interface by showing them new stuff on a steady stream. Although I will say, and this is a very minor complaint about Disney Plus, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. There should have been more Avengers options for the profile pictures, okay? There was like 6 Avengers and that was it. We should have had more Marvel heroes available. Let's see. If you think Mandalorian is boring, you are the problem. Not yeah, and that's the thing. I was talking to somebody the other day. Like, Favreau has done a great job at respectfully handling properties that throw back to the past. He did a great job with Iron Man. He did a great job with Elf, which became like an instant, like, modern day Christmas classic, and included loving throwbacks to, like, well, I mean, he had Ralphie in it, right, from A Christmas Story, which is a movie I hate, by the way, but I know a lot of people love it. And then also, like, the way he handled, like, some of that claymation in the beginning, I thought was really, really nice. Good morning, Gold Chain. How you doing, man? Now, hopefully Kazoo won't shoot your head off for her daily YP2 morning streams. Oh, she probably will. I was talking to her and Jake and fairly late last night, and I was joking that I wasn't going to do the stream, and then I was going to blame it on Kazoo. Honestly, these streams get me going. I wake up groggy early, but chatting on here wakes me up right away. Right on. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. Like, that's incentive for me to keep going. Fabian, some people who can't sit through Star Wars with no Jedi, those people hated Rogue One. Those people are sad. I liked Rogue One a lot. Lily says, maybe. Being from the UK, I don't get Disney Plus. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Neo was in here the other day asking how he could get Disney Plus, and he was DMing me. And apparently, yeah, it's not available in the UK until March, so I felt bad. So I was like, yeah, Disney Plus is rad, but then, like, over there in the UK, you guys don't get it for another few months. I wonder, well, I'm assuming that when you get it in the UK, you'll have all the episodes of The Mandalorian, so that'll be nice. You can binge them, presumably. It would be really weird if after the episodes have already been out, if they came to the UK and they're like, no, you're going to watch them slowly rolled out over a period of months as well. But hey, maybe they will do that. I think that would be horrible, but they might. Some of the best Star Wars stories don't involve Jedi. Oh wait, Clone Wars is no longer on Netflix. It's canon, yet Disney can't go 20 minutes without ripping them off for ideas. Interesting. Listen, I only watched the first few episodes. I've been trying to find time to finish. Are you talking about Clone Wars or are you talking about Mandalorian? Because you can't finish Mandalorian. Mikhail says Disney Plus is a problem. I can't decide what to watch and this nostalgia is real. Right. Like, I didn't know Gargoyles was even going to be coming to that, and it would be nice to dive back into that world. In Star Wars Old Republic MMO, I was a bounty hunter, loved it. The Game of Thumb TV says, wait, you can change your profile picture. If you go to log into Disney Plus right now, there's a place in the upper right where it says edit profile. So I was like, because I started handing out, Disney Plus logins to my friends like crazy and giving them their own profile. And I was choosing like Toy Story characters or Star Wars characters for them and everything. I might see if I can help work on the family project car again soon. Ooh, what's that project all about? That sounds fun, Tech Hit. There's no Hawkeye. Yeah, right? There's a staggering, there's just a bizarre gap in terms of the Marvel heroes available. And I almost wonder if, well, no, because Thanos was on there. I was like, I wonder if it's like an actor thing. Because most of the Marvel heroes that were on there that you could choose were not like the actors' faces, just raw. It was like, Iron Man with a helmet, Ant-Man with a helmet, Black Panther with the mask on. But it's strange. Saw Mandalorian pick subscription saved. Yeah, I figured you'd probably enjoy that one. I've been deep into Gargoyles. That show still holds up extremely well. Yeah, I don't doubt that it does. Like even at the time when I was watching, I was like, this seems like it's got better storytelling than the kind of cartoons I've been used to watching. Not that I had watched terrible cartoons, I guess, but Gargoyles seemed like it took it up to a whole new level. Oh, Clone Wars, Lily? Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, no worries, Lily. It's a car that has damaged engine. I help keep an eye over it, / try to get the headlights to not look awful. I got you, Tech. Good. Just sitting on my college campus waiting for my classes today. Oh, okay, you're talking to Mikkel. But yeah, like, you know, I've had a good time with Fallen Order. I intend to finish it. I'm probably going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to go home for Thanksgiving, which is about 3 hours from here. And I'll be going home for Christmas, so that's going to be a slim week for content and streams, unless I do like a morning Christmas stream or something, I guess, like something like that during the few days that I'm there. But, you know, when I go home, we're almost certainly going to go see Star Wars, me and Mom and Dad, and that's probably when I'll rip into Fallen Order in a big way to finish that story. I may put it off until then, just have like a big Star Wars week, probably watch some more of The Mandalorian, go see the new Star Wars movie, play Fallen Order. Maybe I'll just binge a ton of Clone Wars and see how that plays out. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I noted here about the game. Yeah, I think I covered most of the bases from my early time. But, I mean, long story short, it is a solid game so far. Not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a perfect game, because it's not. But it's very, very good. And, you know, I'm definitely incensed to finish it. Is this game available on PS4? Clayton, it absolutely is available on the PlayStation 4. And I'm sure it will take advantage of the PlayStation 4 Pro in a significant way. I got the Xbox version because I have the One X, and you know, I know that's on paper the most powerful console out there right now. But yeah, it is available on. Is it on PC too? Is it on PC, PS4, and Xbox? I thought it was. Just like that, Fallen Order falls into your backlog comfortably. Oh wait, Gamer Thumb says, did you hear Mandalorian Season 2? Farvo confirmed. Yeah, I did see, because he tweeted out a picture of the helmet. So I'm glad to hear that they're apparently so happy with the initial episodes and how they've performed that we're going to get a second season. And anytime I hear that Jon Favreau's attached to something, I'm immediately interested, because I know that dude, you know, he does good work. Currently putting together a Fallen Order themed video talking about the spirit of adventure in gaming. I like how you talk about the meta aspects of gaming like that, Checkpoints. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into Death Stranding. Maybe not in a video, maybe in a podcast where I want to talk at length about, because, you know, Death Stranding, I mean, I won't shut up about it, I'm sorry, but it just has, like, such a ridiculous number of systems that layer on top of each other that the gameplay loop becomes really satisfying really quickly. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is like a Death Stranding tips for newcomers videos, which I'll say this for you right now, just 2 big tips. One, if you're thinking about Death Stranding, you're on the fence about it, you're like, man, maybe I'll check it out 6 months from now. Try to get in on it as quickly as possible. And the reason I say that is because the way the game world is designed, right now there's this joy of discovery, right? Kind of like the early days of Breath of the Wild, where people were discovering new and weird things in the environment, or the way different objects would interact with each other. You kind of get that same sense from Death Stranding right now, and if you play the game a year from now, it's not going to be the same experience, because people online will have already mapped out the best delivery routes for everything. They will already have just picked that game clean in terms of how the mechanics play off of each other. But there are just such a ridiculous amount of systems to keep track of in that game that it's fun if you're the kind of person who loves like just a ridiculous attention to detail. But now it's like this new frontier sort of experience in Death Stranding right now, right? And that's why anybody who's been on the fence about it, I've been telling them, like, go ahead and take the leap, or borrow it from a friend at the very least and give it a shot for a few days to see. Make sure it's the kind of game that you like. But if you think you're going to be really invested in it, like if you're somebody who just historically has liked Kojima games, you will probably like this, even though combat is admittedly slim. There is combat. I'll spoil that for everybody. There is combat in a sense that you can engage. I mean, it's Kojima, right? I mean, this is the dude who did Metal Gear Solid, so of course you're going to find some combat in the game. But yeah, like right now, getting in early on that game would be my first tip. And the second tip that I would say, it's not a spoiler, is if you do start, rush through chapters 1 and 2 as quickly as you can and just get to chapter 3. I'm not saying there's not fun stuff to explore in chapters 1 and 2. There are, like extra deliveries you can take on and side quests to kind of explore. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you enjoy it, go for it. But what I'm saying is, if you're somebody who's like, man, like this is kind of a grind right now, and it's kind of rough, and it feels like the game is punishing me. It is punishing you. But again, I keep saying this, chapter 3 cracks open like a piñata. You will have an amazing time, because they just dump a whole big bucket of toys on you, and it's fun to play in that world. Let me back up here. Today is the day of Shenmue 3. If you all don't hear from me for a while, it's because I'm in trying to exact revenge 18 years in the making. Yeah, I would be curious to play Shenmue 3. It's not top priority for me because I only played the first one. I never played 2. I have not played it yet. So, but I know a lot of people like Muzz from Level 1. He's super pumped for Shenmue 3. Are you going to be streaming that, Mikkel? I would assume so. Mandalorian is Star Wars Master Chief. If he removes the helmet, we riot unless it's a Sammy's reveal? Did you hear Mandalorian season? Oh wait, I missed this. I'm too far back. On Fallen Order, the basic difficulty, you get killed in 2 to 3 hits by most basic enemies. Yeah, that might not be fun for me. Is it still playable if I don't have an internet connection? Yes, it absolutely is. You can play that game completely without an internet connection. Both Death Stranding and Star Wars. I'm not sure which one you were from. I'm assuming Star Wars. But yeah. Josh, gotta go. Take care. Judge, take care, man. Good hanging out with you. Mikhail says, dude, play Shenmue 2. I have it. I have it downstairs in the PS4 collection rotting on the backlog. Which, that was a debate that I tried to start on Twitter the other day, and I hoped it would swing in my favor, but didn't. Like, if you don't open a game, does it count as backlog? If you haven't even begun a game, can you console your innate guilt from not having played it by saying you're acting as a preservationist of sorts, right? You know, it's not on your backlog proper, it's just, you know, it's being preserved. You're not going to get revenge, you'll be too busy with claw games, right? That I do remember. Yes, sir, I'm streaming Shenmue 3 today. What time's that stream going live? Maybe I can pop in. Shut up, Fabian. I'm so happy that Yakuza's come to the Xbox Game Pass, as I've never played them. I only started one of them, and that was Kiwami. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. But it's another one of those games where it has so many established entries in the series that it's almost intimidating to approach, because there's just so much there. So it's like, man, if I play one, do I have to play 6 other games before I can really appreciate the fullness of, or the richness of that experience? I don't know. That's a good question. Backlog battle. I have a plan for dealing with some of my backlog. You'll have to wait another 2 decades for part 4, almost inevitably. Yeah, somebody said that the game, even though it's a modern game, that it plays very much like a game from 20 years ago, but they didn't say that was a bad thing. They said it was actually a good thing. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but you know. Clayton says, I'm also looking at Death Stranding. A lot of people are saying good things about it. I have had a wonderful time with Death Stranding, and I have found I even enjoyed the early chapters where you are doing a lot of walking around. You are doing a lot of stumbling and falling over when your Sam is made of noodles, but that's okay. I just enjoy the gameplay loop in a significant way, and it's crazy because, again, it's multiplayer, but it's not. Like, the structures you build in your world will become visible to and appreciated by people that you'll never meet, which I think is one of my favorite parts of that game, has this really altruistic message about it. And there's something really nice about, like, just loading up a ton of gear for Sam and then taking bonkers routes to, you know, a particular location, and then just leaving behind a bunch of helpful stuff to make that land easier to traverse, like, you know, ropes, ladders, bridges, that kind of thing. That's a lot of fun to me. I have a friend that has an enormous backlog of movies, has a bunch sealed that are just sitting on his shelf. And this thing, like, I almost went and traded in all of my Marvel movies, basically all of my physical movies. Like, I'm so tired of just having physical movies, because I just, you know, I can't remember the last time I was like, ooh, I want to watch a movie, and I physically put a disc into a player, unless it was the only way that I had to watch it, like for some of the older stuff. So if I trade everything, I probably would have kept about 5 or 10 DVDs, most of them like Kevin Smith stuff or anime stuff that you can't really find easily. But I don't know. Mikkel says, Josh, play Yakuza 0. Someday that'll be a thing. Checkpoint says, it's the fact it's on Game Pass. I don't feel pressured to play too much if I don't like it. Yeah, and I think that's one of the unsung benefits of Game Pass. It is sort of a delightful buffet. Now, one of the things I didn't really realize about Game Pass, is I didn't read that fine print very, very closely, and someone explained it to me the other day, was I thought that if you downloaded a game from Game Pass, and that game I knew games would rotate in and out of Game Pass, but I thought if a game rotated out, if you had it downloaded, you could still continue to play it. You know, kind of like a PT situation, right? Where if you blew it away, you couldn't re-download it. But as long as you had it, you could keep playing it. Apparently, that's not the case. If you download a game on Game Pass and it rotates out, and you try to fire it up, it's gonna ding you. It's gonna ask you to pay money, cough up some dough for that data to stay on your hard drive. Remember when I said I started a song on guitar. I'm finally getting somewhere with it. Congratulations, man. Trust me, that's further than I ever got with the guitar. I tried it once and was not a huge fan. Although I did play piano for 11 years, weirdly enough. 0, 1, and 2 are directly connected. 3 through 5 are the second arc. 6 is the end of Yakuza's story with Kiryu. I have all the Studio Ghibli films on Blu-ray. I've only seen a few, and that was Princess Mononoke. What else? Spirited Away. I have not seen Howl's Moving Castle. I've heard good things though. Someday is unacceptable. Yakuza Essential. Okay, Mikkel. All right, just chill out. Okay, what's more essential, Yakuza or Shenmue 2? I can't do both. Okay, I am in the middle of reconnecting America in a post-apocalyptic wasteland with a monster gunsling Norman Reedus right now. Okay, you can't just dump that kind of commitment on me. Okay, I understand Yakuzas are good games. I understand the Shenmues are good games. But you have to prioritize. I thought that was 2 with Game Pass, and I was disappointed. Yeah, it was disappointing. It kind of took some of the wind out of the sails of Game Pass for me. Like, it's still a great value, and still, I think, the best value in console game if you're looking for, like, a buffet-style option, but still. Kiryu? Oh, I'm sorry, Mikkel, okay? I'm not a linguistics expert. I haven't seen much anime yet. I haven't either, really. Like, I try to, but I never quite get into it. I've just seen some of the classics, like Ghost in the Shell or Akira, but I feel like that's, you know, I feel like that's like the chai latte of anime. Shenmue 2, decision made, deal. I will play Shenmue 2, and then when Mario yells at me for not playing Yakuza, I'm going to point at you and be like, this is Mikkel's fault. He told me this was the priority over any entry in the Yakuza series. Mikkel is moody. It's late in Hawaii. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe he's just grumpy because it's like the end of the day. Maybe he's just tired and he can't stomach the thought that I haven't played these games he holds in such high regard. Tex says, although I can't speak a little more Japanese now, I can speak no Japanese, so that's, yeah. That's a large improvement over what I'm capable of. Maybe don't tell Maro I want the smoke. Is Shenmue 3 out? It's out today, according to Mikkel. I'm gonna go check. I kind of want to go buy it now, just to troll Mikkel. Be like, hey, guess what, guys? I'm a huge Shenmue fan now. Let's see. Shenmue 3 is $60. It comes out Wednesday, November 20th. So, according to Best Buy, it's coming out on Wednesday, the 20th. Let me pull up this trailer real quick, see how this game's looking. It's been a while since I looked at some Shenmue 3 stuff. Oh, sorry. Let's not annoy everybody with audio coming out of a different speaker. Yeah, what I'll probably do is watch a recap of Shenmue 1, because I haven't played it since, like, 2000 or 2001, whenever it came out. And then I'll probably dive into 2 on Mikkel's recommendation. Because I would like to finish it. It went under the radar. Where did the hype go? I know, right? Lily, welcome back. They got delayed release. GameStop has it today here. Oh, okay. I wonder if my GameStop has it today. Go get in on that discount action. Hold on. Shenmue 3 is out. Yeah, Shenmue... Well, no, here it says the release date is the 19th. Now, my manager at GameStop would probably let me buy it at a 9 o'clock release tonight, but on the website, at least, it lists the release date is the 19th, so I'm not sure. So, suffice it to say, there's no shortage of things to play this holiday season. Are all the Yakuzas coming to Game Pass, or is it just certain ones? Does anybody know? Hold on, I have Google. Game Pass Yakuza. Yakuza, and it says, and almost every Final Fantasy is coming. You know, another reason, like, so, back to Star Wars for a second, another reason I got it for the Xbox is I feel like, moving forward, Microsoft is going to have, and I feel like they've already proven to have a good track record when it comes to backward compatibility, but I feel like they're going to do a better job of it moving forward. Like, I know that Sony said they're committed to this forward compatibility thing, where they want to make sure the games of each generation, I don't know why they wouldn't just say backward compatibility, since maybe it just sounds better. But the fact they're trying to make sure that, you know, moving forward, the games remain playable on future generations of PlayStation, I hope that's the case. But I have a little more faith in Microsoft to fulfill that vision. I'm not sure. Good morning, Chosen Rebel. How are you doing? I feel like Shenmue 3 hasn't been marketed that much. Yeah, because I feel like I haven't really seen like a ton of ads for Shenmue 3 or anything. Microsoft are making a comeback. I hope they keep learning and prove they are listening to fans. Yeah, and I think, you know, that doesn't surprise me. They started gobbling up studios like crazy and trying to churn out some exclusives. I think they're going to become more of a powerhouse, and I think they have to, right? Because the primary advantage of you know, the traditional console experiences like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft over these emerging ones like Stadia. One, obviously the technology of being able to have something locally downloaded is way more reliable than relying on a streaming connection to make that happen. But then two is Stadia has like no exclusives. And if there's anything we learned from this generation in a huge way, it's that exclusives will absolutely drive console sales. You know, poor Microsoft, they had that major misstep with their desire to make the Xbox the center of your living room. But now they're rectifying those sins, and at a rapid pace, I would say. They are continuing to establish Xbox not as a chunk of hardware that sits under your TV, but rather as a platform that is built around the consumer and their particular gaming habits. And when Project xCloud comes to fruition, which I like that they're sort of, you know, they're not revealing all their cards just yet on that. I think they're waiting. Again, this is why I said the other day, Microsoft is doing to Google right now what Sony did to Microsoft at the beginning of this generation. They're letting them take on all the risk of stepping into unknown territory, and then they're going to follow suit, and whatever it is, they're going to come over the top, I think, and take advantage of the weaknesses of that position. What I mean by that is if Google Stadia launches and the pricing's wrong, if the game offerings are wrong, wherever the weakness is in the Stadia armor, that's where Microsoft will target whenever it launches xCloud. And they're not going to do anything major with xCloud until they see how Stadia performs. Because it might be the public reception to Stadia is completely lackluster. There's a great chance it will be lackluster, I would even say. But I expect that's Microsoft's strategy right now is to not try to beat them to the punch, but rather to let them, you know, get that, take the initial hit of seeing what public response is going to be like, and then capitalizing on any weaknesses or missteps that it makes during that process. Because that's what Sony did to Microsoft beginning this generation. Microsoft came out, and then Sony ousted it by launching the console $100 less, and then basically making fun of Microsoft's DRM strategies out of the gate, and they just pummeled poor Xbox out of the gate. But hey, that's business, right? Fantastic. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm awake. I'm caffeinated. Backward compatibility thing for Microsoft is good, but a little limited. It is, but they're doing better than most. Shenmue fanbase is astronomically huge, but since Shenmue 3 doesn't have the budget of Sega and only Deep Silver, they are relying on word of mouth. The fanbase is huge beyond words, though. That I don't doubt, and I'm sure word of mouth is going to do a lot of favors for Shenmue. They also brought up Playground Games, the Forza people. Microsoft has much more experience and backward compatibility with modern games. I mean, they were making OG Xbox games work on the 360. Right. The fact that OG Xbox games will still work on my Xbox One is pretty incredible, I think. Still gonna get myself a few original Xbox games. That's probably one of the largest chunks of my collection tech, is I have a lot of original Xbox games. Morning, Tribal. Did I just start the stream? No, this stream has been in progress for 47 minutes and 34 seconds. Xbox One is my main, and PS4 and Switch are for exclusives. Yeah, I don't think I really have a main this generation. Maybe it's the Switch? I don't know. xCloud is amazing. Was shocked at how good it is. Yeah, I only played it at E3. I know some people have it in the wild. I think Tribal's one of those people, actually. My main is the Xbox 360 backups with the PS2 and 3. Fabian says, I think Stadia is going to have two huge difficulties. The no exclusive situation and once xCloud is released. Yeah, I mean, they have to do something, right? Because they want to keep gamers' attention on the YouTube platform. So tightly integrating your video game offerings into that platform is a smart way to do that. It might have needed to bake a little bit longer, though. That's my concern, is that they're gonna launch this thing, kind of limping out of the gate. We'll find out, though. Like, I pre-ordered the Founders Edition. It's going to be here this week, according to my shipping information. So, I'll be able to pop in Stadia and give it a shot. We'll see if I can find a way to stream it. That'll be a fun experiment. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. I haven't even thought about the logistics of how to do that. Like, I could stream directly on the platform, presumably from my channel, I think. Or I could try to do like a window capture, I guess, since I theoretically would be playing it in a Chrome browser, and we'll see what happens if OBS can handle it. That might be a fun experiment. And I'll be real curious to see how it performs. That's the only reason that I really got it, was pure novelty and curiosity. So that and trying to get in between PlayStation and Xbox players. Yeah, there's that too, I suppose. Because I'm one of the Xbox Brand Ambassadors program, and I got the beta before second beta went out to select. So you've tried it in your home then, in Hawaii, and it worked? And it worked well? Because if so, I feel like that sort of deflates the argument the Stadia is making about, not making the same technology available, their Stadia available in Hawaii. xCloud is adding 50 more, you mean Game Pass? Or xCloud? Is xCloud adding 50 games? That's crazy. It's weird, too, that xCloud is going to support the DualShock. I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? Theoretically, any of these controllers should work with any of their systems. They all have effectively the same buttons, but still. Smooth and seamless? Ooh. Now that is enticing. And I want to know how they're going to sell that. Are they going to market xCloud? Are they going to be like, well, you can get xCloud for an extra $5 tacked on to your Game Pass Ultimate subscription? If they try to do it for an extra 10, I don't think I would pay that. But if they're like, hey, for an extra 5, you can get it, or standalone, you can get access to this for 10, I think that would be fair. Like, if they told me for $5 extra you get, access to xCloud, if I could literally be playing a Halo at Starbucks on a Wi-Fi connection, that would be crazy. That would be completely bonkers to have that it's cool now that I can get a console experience with an asterisk there on the Switch, out and about. But if I could literally, especially if you could stream it over like a cell data connection, that's going to be a game changer. And XLO, far too early. It is a little early. xCloud is going to be affordable. They just stated all you need is normal Game Pass to use it. Awesome. Alright guys, I've got to go back to work. Have a good one. Have a good one, checkpoints. Actually, I'm going to do the same. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your morning to hang out here. It's been fun talking a little bit about my first impressions of Star Wars Fallen Order near the beginning of the stream. And then just, talking about video game stuff. We'll be back tomorrow morning. And tomorrow we will be talking about... I already wrote it down, I think. Why you should be taking COPPA seriously if you're a content creator. So we're shifting gears tomorrow into more work hard stuff if you're a YouTube content creator. So more video game stuff will be happening on Wednesday, and that's what the morning discussion will center around. But gonna go ahead and take off now. Get ready for work. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day in a significant way. I hope it's a good one. And yeah, take care. I will see you next time. All right.